Seduction it's an incredible, powerful device that fewer and fewer and fewer people in this world understand.
To understand the anti-seducer, you have to understand the seducer. Think of seduction as this kind of theater in real life. The seducer is someone who has a kind of playful, open attitude. So if you're a man and you're obsessed with women, you're going to understand better why women are attracted to you. You have one of these qualities, at least one.
The idea is that seduction is a form of power. And basically what you're doing is you're getting people to kind of do what you want in the end, but they don't realize it because you are so clever and you're so indirect, and you give people a feeling of pleasure, right? That their defenses go down and they feel comfortable around you. They like you, they may even love you. And now you can kind of move them in a direction that you want. And people say, well, that's so ugly, that's so manipulative. But that is what seduction is. And it's not necessarily so ugly because it leads to, affairs, to romances, to perhaps marriage. It is kind of a pleasurable game. And the idea behind it is that in the world today, people do not have enough pleasure, right? It's probably the one thing that they're missing the most. They're so wired, they're so working so hard, they're so, single-mindedly focused on their careers, et cetera, that they're not having any pleasure. And then in our social world, everyone is so selfish and narcissistic that no one is really giving you attention that you like. Like if I were to try and seduce Pani, right, I would figure out what makes you different, what makes you unique, what you love in life that nobody else is giving you. Things from your childhood, things that make you excited, that you love, certain colors, certain flowers, certain gifts, certain places. And I would give that to you. I would get into your world instead of being obsessed with myself. I would get outside of myself into Pani's world, and I would say, this is what she is missing in her life, and I'm going to give it to her. The power of that is absolutely immense because nobody is giving that to you in general, right? And so a simple example would be, we have a conversation at a restaurant at night, we're having dinner, and you say some things that you're not really paying attention to, and they're just sort of off the cuff, but they kind of reveal something that bothers you or something that you really are excited about. And then the next day, I bring up what you said in a different form, perhaps. I kind of quote you or something, or I give it a different spin. And I don't call a lot of attention to it, but to you that goes, wow, Robert was actually really listening to me. He heard what I said. He understood kind of what was behind my words. That's really interesting. Nobody ever does that. Okay, and as that happens, you start becoming a little less resistant. You start seeing Robert in a different way. You say, maybe this person can give me things that I don't get from other people. It doesn't matter if that other person isn't the handsomest person in the world or isn't all buffed out or et cetera. But they understand the psychology, right? They understand for a man what a woman is missing, or for a man what a man is missing for a woman. They understand this. That's what gives you the degree of seductive power in life. And that can make people fall in love with you. It can also mean in your office, you're not making people fall in love with you because that's kind of creepy, but you're making people like you. They feel charmed. You have a certain presence about you that you're empathetic, that you kind of understand them, that makes people want to be around you. Or it can be in politics. You know how to seduce people with your message. You can win elections. Or if you're marketing your product, you know what seduces the masses. People will buy your product. It gives you immense power. Because if in politics, if in the office, if within the sexual realm or in marketing, you're too direct, you're too forceful, people will go, that's ugly. I don't want anything of that. You're in my face. But if you're indirect, if you come from here instead of from here, they have no defenses. They go, wow, I'm going to buy your product. I'm going to vote for you. I'm going to like you in the office. I'm going to have sex with you, or I'm going to fall in love with you. It's an incredible, powerful device that fewer and fewer and fewer people in this world understand, right? Fewer and fewer people in the world are actually good at the seduction game because for whatever reason, we're not used to it. You know, in the world of Tinder, etc., it becomes an app. It's not anymore your psychology. It's more like, boom, 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 right? That's not human. Humans have emotions. Humans have psychology. Humans have weaknesses. So get out of that boom, boom, boom. Spend time around people and get inside their worlds. Well, first of all, in seduction, I give the 9 types of seducer.
The most kind of archetypal, the most dramatic ones are the first ones, the siren, which is only of women. Only women can be sirens. And that's sort of what I consider the icon of seduction, is the siren itself, because that's where the concept came from. And that's a woman who has a very powerful sexual energy that any man can feel. It's not overt in that they're not coming on to you, but they just radiate this kind of intense physical energy. And there's an element almost of danger to them. And that's sort of what excites the man about the siren, that if I get involved with, and she doesn't have to be beautiful. So the greatest siren who ever lived was Cleopatra. And from what we know about Cleopatra, she had a bit of a long nose and a thin face. She wasn't like strikingly beautiful. It was her personality. So it's not about looks. It's about this energy you have and this confidence. And there's almost a sense if I get involved with this woman, she might destroy me. She might ruin my reputation. She might, take me somewhere I don't want to go. But that's what's so exciting about the siren. And then the male equivalent of that is what I call the rake. And the rake is a man who has an intense interest in women. He loves women to an incredible degree. It like obsesses him. But he can never be satisfied with one woman. So he has to find as many different women as possible. And because he so much is interested in women and he understands them so deeply, that kind of interest and excitement and that drama is what makes him so seductive to women, right? Because most men are interested in sex, but they're not really interested in the world of women. They're not really interested in what they're thinking, their psychology, and what will please them. But the rake is so motivated by getting inside the woman's skin that he becomes this incredible seducer. So those are the 2 top ones. Then there's the dandy. That's the kind of androgynous seducer who mixes male and female characteristics, which can be very powerfully seductive if done well. And some of the greatest seducers in history, like a Marlene Dietrich or Rudolph Valentino or David Bowie, these people have that kind of energy. Then there's the natural, someone who's kind of got a childlike energy. They're just so authentic. They're not faking anything. They've got that kind of innocence about them, and it's devilishly seductive. Then there's, as you mentioned, there's the coquette, probably the most dangerous. That's the one I have problems with the most because in my past, most men have had that. The coquette, the woman or man, because that can go both ways, is someone who blows hot and cold, right? They know how to play hard to get, and they get your claws in you, and then they withdraw, and you go crazy, and you have to pursue them, and you're going after them. So coquettes are devilishly powerful. It's for a man, there could be the worst, and I've had many experiences with it. Then there's the star, which as well can be male or female. That's a person who has a kind of a distance. A star is somebody that we project all of our fantasies onto. Right? We imagine that they're almost larger than life. And it's a person who knows how to be kind of blank and yet have this sort of Hollywood-like presence about them, a kind of confidence. And they become a screen in which we project all of our fantasies on. And then there's the charismatic. This isn't so much a sexual seducer, because not all the art of seduction is about sex. A lot of it's about social seduction, political seduction, marketing seductions. The charismatic is a man or a woman who's filled with this intense kind of confidence, And the image that I use is that there's almost like a light inside of them. You can't see, but from within, it illuminates them, and it makes their eyes wide open with an energy, and it gives them this kind of animation. And we have to hear everything they say. They're great orators, right? And they radiate this kind of confidence that sucks us in. We feel like when we're close to them, we're getting some of their own confidence. We feed off of it. And so they don't have to say anything. We can almost feel it, because we humans have a nonverbal side. We're animals at heart, And we are definitely sense the energy of people. And a person who feels so strongly and confident about a cause, for instance, like a Malcolm X or someone like that, or Martin Luther King, it's so intense, that energy, that it just draws us in, and we become followers of them. Now, not everybody, all these types, reason I wrote about them is that you out there, you, Lauren, you, Michael, you have one of these qualities, at least one, maybe two. If you have three, we're all in trouble. But you have at least one of them, right? And you're going to identify with the coquette, the siren, the rake, whatever. And I'm trying to make you kind of push it up a little harder, be aware of it, and how you can accentuate it and what makes it seductive, so that you can kind of use it to your own effect. And so, we all can't be charismatics. We all can't be Marilyn Monroe or Errol Flynn, who was the greatest rake that ever lived, because somebody counted that he probably slept with over 5,000 women, and he died in his early 50s. And if you do the math, it's like astounding. We can't all be like that, right? But you can come close to it. There's a charismatic side to people and I'm showing you how you can bring out your own natural charisma if you have the ingredients for that, or how you can become more of a natural, or more of the rake that's inside of you. So if you're a man and you're obsessed with women, and now you read my chapter on the rake, you're going to understand better why women are attracted to you, and now you can kind of accentuate it and even make it better and be more effective.
If you're too obvious in your seductive moves, if people know, oh, Pawnee read The Art of Seduction and she's using it on me, that's not going to be very effective, right? So you have to feel natural. You have to feel like it's not a game you're playing, but it's part of your personality. You're naturally like this.
Essentially, to understand the anti-seducer, you have to understand the seducer. The seducer is someone who has a kind of playful, open attitude. They're not someone who's judging. They're not moralistic. They're not going, you're bad, you're good, blah, blah, blah. They're kind of open, non-judgmental. They give a lot of themselves, right? They want to please the other person. They want to get that other person to open up to them. So the anti-seducer is the very opposite of that. Being generous with your time or with your money is very seductive, right? So if you're on a date, as pertains mostly to men, but these days it doesn't necessarily, and you're kind of worried about the money or the expense, that's a sign, that's an anti-seductive sign. Like, oh, the woman or whoever, I'm not worth that money. I'm not worth going to a nice restaurant. I'm not worth the expense or the effort. So being kind of tight inside doesn't have to be with money. It could just be with your feelings, with your experiences, with your emotions, and with your money. Tightness is anti-seductive. Openness, open heart, open spirit is seductive. So any kind of tightness or rigidity or closeness is very, very anti-seductive. The other thing is, these are qualities that men tend to have more than women, is the kind of the blowhard, the man who's mansplaining all the time, who's always explaining everything, who thinks he's so brilliant, he's like a professor, he's always lecturing, and he's lecturing the woman as if she doesn't know things. And usually women are smarter than men. I hate to say that, but I think it's true. So the man who's kind of lecturing the woman as if this is what's going on in the world, this is what business is like, blah, blah, blah. That's very anti-seductive, right? Because nobody likes to feel like they're so intellectually inferior to someone else. So to have someone kind of lecturing you and telling you and judging you, which I sort of mentioned before, is very anti-seductive. Think of seduction as this kind of theater in real life, right? Because our daily lives, to be honest, can be rather boring. So our day-to-day lives are kind of banal, they're not interesting. And seduction is this realm where things are slightly heightened. It's not that you're being fake, it's that you're having a slight theatrical edge. So you dress differently than you would normally dress, right? You take someone to a place where they don't normally go to. You have some surprises. You create some kind of a little bit of theater in their life, right? So somebody who can't do that, who's just wants to be themselves, like, the first date, well, why don't you come over to my house? We'll have some pizza and we'll just hang out. That's just what life is normally like. Let's go someplace special. Let's go someplace different. Surprise me. Take me somewhere where I've never been taken before. So a person who can't make the effort. Seduction is about effort. And it doesn't matter what the effort is. If you show the other person that you care that deeply, that you're going to do something that took some thinking, some time, that means you're thinking about them. And we read those signs in a nonverbal way.